Here's an update on striper fishing in the canal by East End Eddie Doherty, a retired Massachusetts court clerk magistrate appointed by the late Governor A. Paul Cellucci, author of 7 Miles After Sundown about surf casting the Cape Cod Canal for striped bass.
So welcome to another canal fishing report. We're here on the east end of the world famous Cape Cod Canal where it goes into Cape Cod Bay. There's an east tide this morning, a dropping east tide, and I say it goes into Cape Cod Bay. It's going into Cape Cod Bay now because it's an east tide, but when it turns, it'll be coming out of Cape Cod Bay on a west tide. So fishing would have to be described as disappointing in the month of August. The whole season, really. There's been some good days. Some guys have had some success, but overall, the fish have been harder to find than the Epstein list. It's been terrible. You know, it's just nobody knows why, because you know, there's a lot of bait still in the canal, and usually when there's not many fish, it's because there aren't any bait. But we've got a lot of mackerel, especially in the east end. It's loaded. Guys are catching mackerel with sabiki rigs intentionally, but they're also catching them by accident, just reeling in their lure and snagging mackerel because they're so thick. And there's silver sides, there's rain bait. Rain bait, of course, is the very small fish that when they come to the surface, it makes a little disturbance. It kind of looks like raindrops hitting the water, hence the name rain bait. And there's a lot of pogies. The pogie has 3 names. Around here, most people call it a pogie, but they're also called bunker and menhaden in most other parts of the country. And that's a primary forage food for stripers and bluefish and other predatory fish. So we have a lot of bait, but the stripers don't know about it yet. But anyway, so just to refresh everybody's memory what a slot is, some people have been catching slots. A slot is a keeper that's 28 inches to less than 31 inches. Anything smaller than that or bigger than that, you have to throw it back in the water. Or I should say put back in the water very gently. So amongst the success that we've seen was Henry Gorby from Hanover. He caught a 35-inch striped bass on a Guppy Jobo on a topwater bite. Guppy Jobo is the company owned by Wayne Hess, the local guy who's a great guy and a great fisherman and a great lawmaker. Justin Chef Winters, who's a great chef, worked in a lot of restaurants. He's from West Barnstable, and he caught a couple of striped bass who were just shy of slot. Slapshot Scotty Ewell picked a couple of slots off the bottom with a diamond jig, which is a very effective lure. Mark the Preacher McNeil reported 7 schoolies that landed up to 27 inches, and it was on a SP minnow, a very effective lure. And that went on until a seal showed up and spoiled the party. Once the seal shows up, the fish scatter. And guys fishing with cut bait started doing pretty well. I stopped my bike to say hello to the Almeida brothers one day, and within minutes, Westport Jim and I were watching his brother Mark reel in a tasty 18-inch black sea bass. They were both chunking with cut max into a west dropping tide. Sterling Silva Alavachi was chunking into a west ebb tide, and the Onset resident caught 4 black sea bass up to 6 pounds. The biggest one was 6 pounds and 17 inches. Joe Triolo was chunking into an early rising east tide, and his circle hook was holding small pieces of mackerel. His sinker was holding his rig close to the edge of the canal because the current, whenever you're fishing on the bottom like that, if it's not slack tide, it's going to move your rig. And so he was close to the edge, and he caught a 33-inch striped bass. So Bull McKinnon, one of the best fishermen in the canal, continues to catch striped bass, and he landed 3 bonito on epoxy jigs. Keith OFD Dacey, Pride of Dorchester, he caught a 32-inch striped bass with a 5-ounce Green Mac Fish Lab on an early breaking tide. Glenn Lucky Cigar Lindsay dropped a couple of big bluefish with his 3-ounce Green Mac Savage Sand Deal. The first one I think was bigger than the second one, but the second one jumped out of the water 3 times, doing a dance like a topping on the surface, and then on the third time the fish jumped, it shook the hook out of his mouth. Joe McNamee from Attleboro just the other day caught a nice 33-inch on his homemade white bucktail. I said, Joe, what brand name was that bucktail? He said it was a Joe jig, because he makes them himself. He's a great guy. He lives in Attleboro, but he's from North Attleboro. He played football for North Attleboro High when I played for Attleboro High, and so we were Turkey Day rivals. So it's a small world. The other day, a guy jigging next to me had a Striper Gear Green Max Shaddy Daddy on an East Rising Tide. He caught a nice fish. He was fishing next to me, and I was leaving, and I had to leave, and so it's kind of far away from him when he brought it in. But it looked to be about 35 inches, so that's a good sign. That's that was only a few days ago, so that was gives you some optimism for the future. And Donnie Hawkeye Willis rode by my spot on his bike, and he was heading east. He said he was going for mackerel. That's all there is, and that's true, most days. And I just want to mention that U.S. Air Force combat veteran Harold Skelton, who founded Fishing for the Mission 22 and helped so many veterans in so many ways, he's implemented another program, and he has 3 electric bikes that they purchased, and so those bikes are available for free to veterans, active duty military, and first responders. They're available to Heroes of America at no cost, and they're fully equipped with rods, reels, lures, and you can get a guide if you're not familiar with the canal and you want somebody to show you around. And if you request that, and it's all free. His office is right across from the railroad bridge on the mainland side in the West End, and his number is 774-810-2223, or you can get him on email, info@fishingforthemission22.org. And of course, 22 is the number of veterans who take their own life every day in our great country, so we have to do what we can for them, and Harold does more for them than anybody I know. And he got some interesting news lately. Harold received word that, he has this tournament every year, this Black Sea Bass tournament, and he has it at the end of May. So the Division of Marine Fisheries put 22 black sea bass into Buzzards Bay that were tagged. And if you catch one of those fish, you win $1,000 at the award ceremony that he holds on at Buzzards Bay Park, right near the railroad bridge. And so long after, that's at the end of May. That's when they put them in the fish in Buzzards Bay. But long after the tournament ended, which I think was August 15th, 2.5 months later, Harold was notified that one of his tagged fish was caught after a very long swim, because the fish was reeled in by a fisherman in New Jersey. So, scientists who study fish movements and migrations and things like that would be interested in that story, because you don't hear about something like that every day. And years ago I met Donnie Donuts Morse in the canal. He's a great fisherman, great canal rat, really nice guy, and his family is steeped in local history. And so I interviewed him the other day at Burger King. Of course, my wife said, why are you meeting a guy named Donnie Donuts at Burger King? You should be going to Dunkin' Donuts. But anyway, we had a nice time, and Donnie's a great guy. And he was born in his grandmother's house right off of Head of the Bay Road, and he married his wife, Jeanette, and they've been married 43 years. So years ago, I think it was 1937, there was a gas station on the Cape side after the Sagamore Bridge called Hamilton's Gas Station. And that gas station was picked up and moved to the mainland side in the Sagamore Rotary, and it became Eleanor's Restaurant, which is in Jeanette's family. And and I think it was like a family restaurant. It's supposed to be a nice place, and so it got moved again, I think, after that, and then eventually it was moved to Canal Road, where Donnie and Jeanette live today. And the joke in the family is that Donnie's mother and Jeanette's mother went to school together. They went to grammar school. I think it was called Bourne Grammar School. It actually might be the Bourne Library. I think the Bourne Library used to be the Bourne Grammar School, I believe. But their mothers had their pictures taken in the 8th grade when they graduated, and So the joke in the family is that in the 8th grade, during recess, they plan the wedding for their kids. So I was watching a film the other day. I'm on the seafood marketing committee, and we had these films go out for recipes. And one of them is a fisherman in Gloucester, and he's talking about how he didn't fish for a few days because of the storm. And so his wife said, "What's the matter with you? You're acting like you know you're down in the dumps. You don't seem yourself." He says, "I'm fine." She says, "You better go fishing right now. Get back to yourself." So that's nice. That fishing cures everything. I went to, I use this, a lot of guys use this, we call it go-go juice. It's fish attractant. You squirt it on your lure. Sometimes it comes in a tube like lipstick and you put it on, a solid one. But I was out of it. And I usually, there's different types, you know, and I usually get mackerel or bunker. But they're out of it. And still supply problems, I guess. But anyways, the only kind they had was a liquid kind that's called garlic. It's got garlic in it. And it didn't sound right to me, but it was explained to me that actually it works pretty well. It smells, it's a powerful smell, and it's a good fish attractant. So I bought it, you know, but the only thing I can think of is, you know, when I have lunch sometimes with my friends in the north end of Boston, we go to an Italian restaurant, and, you know, there's a lot of garlic in the food there. So when I walk in the house, my wife, Jado, has a nose like a bloodhound. She can smell this garlic on my breath from 10 feet away. So now she's going to smell it on my lures. And, you know, I noticed the other day, I think Onset, the town of Onset, is kind of in competition with the Cape. I saw somebody with a shirt that says, "Onset, it's better before the bridge." And another person had a shirt that said Tesno, which is Onset spelled backwards. So a little competition there. It's kind of an intrigue. I was reading the Globe one day, sitting on my bucket that Brian Kearney bought for me years ago. Very comfortable. I have a bad back, so it's great to take a break once in a while from casting and just give your back a break. So I'm sitting there reading the Boston Globe, and I read this story about some guy who was almost killed because his wife tried to poison him by putting poison in his food that she was cooking for him. And there's an elderly gentleman fishing next to me, and I mentioned that story about the wife trying to kill the guy with the cooking and putting the poison in his food. And the elderly gentleman says, well, he says, "That's why I do all the cooking myself in my house." So, and by the way, Bill and the Grill Produce and his lovely wife Tina are vacationing in Alaska, so they'll be gone for a while, and the fish will be safe in the canal. I'm not much of a cook myself, but I was flicking the channel around. I'm not much of a cook because my wife is the best cook I've ever known. Jado cooks up a storm. She's unbelievable. And but I was flicking the channel on TV around, and I came across this cooking show with Guy Fieri. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I like to watch it, even though I'm not a cook. It's interesting. He's a funny guy. And I think he must be from Florida because they're in some kitchen like they always are, and there's a big halibut, and the chef is filleting the halibut. And there's an assistant chef there, younger guy, and Guy says to the younger guy, "So do you know how to fillet a fish?" And Guy says, "No, I don't know how to do it." So Guy says that, well, you know, in Florida, we learn how to fillet fish in the kindergarten, and if you can't fillet a fish properly by the end of kindergarten, you don't get promoted to first grade. So I just want to give you my tip of the month, which is the fish grip, which is a tool that everybody should have on the canal, and I keep mine in my boot. And this is a great tool. It's to lock down on when you catch a fish, most especially a bluefish that has sharp teeth. You want to put this in the fish's mouth and then clamp down on it and squeeze it hard. Now it's locked on his jaw, and that'll allow you to take the hook out, and if the fish is flopping around, it'll allow you to control it a little bit better. You know, I keep mine in my boot. A lot of guys clip it on their belt like this, and they do that. The only problem was that it's explained to me that that if you keep it closed like that, it will wear out the tension. So you want to store it like that. And I just stick it in my boot, and it's easier and quicker to get it out of my boot. You got a 30-pound striper, you know, flopping around at your feet. It's easier to just grab it out like that, and then you can lock it on and control the fish. Just be careful though. You know, one time I did that, and I took the hook out of the fish's mouth, and this was still in there because I wanted to put them back in the water. It's easier to do it with that. But I went to measure the fish flopped up, and he slapped me in the face with this. So be careful when you're using it. And but it really is a great tool, fish grip. It could save you a lot of trouble. So until next time, catch a big one.
Want your nice canal catch mentioned? Email the details to eastendeddie789@yahoo.com.